I'm going to be walking through how to create ping using this video. Go ahead and start Game Maker, and you'll start out at this screen. Click the Import button and navigate to where you downloaded the files for ping. Once you find the correct folder, choose the file Ping Starter and click Import. This will import the file and open Game Maker. Now that Game Maker is open and the Ping Starter file has been loaded, you can look through the different items that are already included in this game. You can open the Sprites folder. See, there are 3 sprites. You can open the Object folder and notice there are 4 objects. And you can open the Room folder to see that there's 1 room. We're going to begin by creating a new sprite that you'll be using for the game. Right-click on the Sprites folder and click Create Sprite. This will open the new sprite window, and in here we're going to be loading the paddle for the game. First, give it the name SPR_paddle, P-A-D-D-L-E, and then click on the Load Sprite button. Navigate to where you downloaded that image, select it, and click Open. Once the sprite is loaded, select the Center button and click OK. Next, you're going to need to create 1 object for the game. So right-click on the Objects folder and click Create Object. This new object is going to be for the paddle, so give this one the name OBJ_paddle. And then in the sprite area, choose the paddle sprite. Make sure the visible option is selected and then click OK. Next, you're going to add this new object to the room. So go ahead and open the Rooms folder and then double-click on Room Game to open the room. All of the game objects, with the exception of the paddle, have already been added to the room. So you'll be adding the paddle now. With the screen open the way it is currently, you cannot see the entire room. So in order to do this, you can hold down the Control key while rolling the scroll bar and having your mouse located in this lower portion of the screen. This will allow the window to scroll in and out, allowing you to see more of the room. To put the object into the room, click on the Objects tab in the upper right of this window, upper left, and in this window choose the paddle. Bring your mouse over into the window and click to place the paddle. I've placed the paddle just below the ball. You'll want it below the ball to ensure that you can properly hit the ball. So in the room, we have a paddle, we have a ball, we have some wall objects for the ball to bounce off of, and we have some block objects that the ball can hit and destroy. Go ahead and we're going to add some more block objects to the room. So come back over to this portion of the screen where the objects are and click and choose Object Block. Bring your mouse back into the room and place more object blocks into the room so that you can have more objects to hit. Okay, that looks good for me. Once you're done, click the check mark in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. Next, we're going to add some movement to the paddle so that the player can actually control it. So go ahead and open the paddle object by double-clicking on it. In this new window that's opened, you'll notice that there is two areas in the object. One is called Events and one is called Actions. We're going to be adding events here, and then to these events we'll be adding actions. We'll first add movement to have the paddle move to the left. We'll use the keyboard to move the paddle. Click on the Add Event button and then choose the keyboard and choose the key press button, and then under this choose the left option. This will place that event on the event side of the screen. Next we'll add an action when you press the left button, and that'll be this button here. Pull and drag this into the actions window and then let go. This is called the moved fixed action, and it will move the paddle in the direction chosen. So we'll choose the direction here. We want it to move to the left, so I press the left button. The speed is the speed in steps per second that I want the paddle to move. I'm going to set this at 5. The other options here you can ignore at this time. We'll be talking about those later in the course. Okay, so that is all you need for moving left. Now, in order to move right, we're going to follow the same options. So add event, key press, but choose right. You'll notice that this has added a new event called right. We need to add an action here. It'll be the move fixed, choosing the right arrow with a speed of 5. Press OK. We'll next test the game to see how things are working. Go ahead and press the OK button to close and save the object. And then move up to the top of the screen, and there's a tiny green arrow. If you hover over it, it'll say Run Game. Press this button, and it will begin to create the game, and then it will run it for us. Once the game is running, you'll notice a window like this. You can press the left and right keyboard keys to cause the paddle to move. Now you'll notice there are some problems here. One of those is when I press the left key and let it go, the paddle continues to move to the left. When I press right, it continues to move to the right. And you'll also notice that it will move off the screen, which isn't a good thing. These errors are items that we're going to need to fix before we continue on. These errors are known as logic errors. So go ahead and close the game that's running, and we'll fix the errors first. We're going to first fix the problem of the paddle not stopping when we let go of the keys. So go back and open up your paddle object. We're going to have to add some new events. So click on the Add Event button and choose the Key Release section, and then choose left. Here we're going to add a move fixed as we did before. At this point we're going to press this little center button. That's a stop button, and then choose OK. We're going to do the same thing, except it'll be for the right key with a move fixed. Choose center button, OK. Next we'll fix the error of the paddle not stopping when it hits the walls. Here we need a different event. This event is called the collision event. A collision event happens when an object collides with another object. So you choose collision, and then it'll have a list of the objects in the game. In this case, I'll choose wall. So now we have that event, and we need to add an action to this. This action, again, will be the move fixed, center button pressed. Now, we'll test the game again and see if those problems are resolved. Now, when I press to the right and let go, the paddle stops. When I touch the wall, it won't move. If I do it the other way, it works the same. Go ahead and close the running game. Come back to GameMaker. Close Object Paddle for now. Next, we're going to be setting up the ball. We're going to open the object ball, and we're going to be adding an event called Create. This event will trigger when the ball is created in the room. When the ball is created, we want it to start moving, so we'll click the Move Fixed like we've done before. In this case, we'd like it to be a little more random. We don't want it to always move in the same direction when it starts. So we're going to choose two of the buttons, up to the left and up to the right. With both of these selected, GameMaker will randomly choose when this event is triggered to move either this direction or this direction. I'm going to give this a speed of 7, leave all the other options as is, and click OK. We have the ball moving now, but we need to make it bounce when it hits other objects. So we're going to add some collision events. So choose Collision, choose Object Wall. When the ball hits the wall, we'd like it to bounce. We're going to use a new action, and it's the bounce action. Drag that over. In here, leave this portion alone, and in these sections, change the precise to precisely, and leave solid objects as is. Click OK. You'll repeat this action for each of the collision events with the block and a collision with the paddle. Alright, so now the ball will move when it starts in the game, and it will bounce off of these objects. One other thing we have to take care of here is we need to make sure that something properly happens when the ball goes off the bottom of the screen. There's an event for this called Outside Room, and it's under the Other tab. You can choose it from here. So when the ball moves outside of the room, we want a couple of things to happen. The first is we want the ball to be removed from the game. If we don't remove the ball from the game, it'll just keep going until the game stops. So you'll have an object that doesn't have any interaction with the game, but is still using computer resources. So we're going to delete this object. You choose the Main One tab, and there's a little recycle can. Drag that over, and in this, leave the options as is, and click OK. That will delete the ball. We next want to recreate a new ball inside the room that the player can use. So we grab this light ball object and pull it over. In here, we have to choose the object of the ball, and we have to give it a location on the screen. This location is 416 in the X direction and 480 in the Y direction. Leaving all other options alone, click OK. Click OK on the ball, and then play the game. Once the game is running, the ball should bounce around the screen, bouncing off of all the objects appropriately. If I let the ball go off the screen, a new ball should appear on the screen. Go ahead and close the game. One more option we'll want to add to the ball object is allowing the player to start the ball moving when they want to, rather than the ball starting on its own. So we're going to add something new here. We're going to add an event. We're going to add the key press spacebar event. We're going to take the create event here and copy this action. So you can right click on this, copy, bring down to the space event, right click and paste. So the action that's in the create event has been duplicated in the spacebar event. Go to the create event and delete it. So now instead of the ball moving on its own, pressing the spacebar will cause the ball to move. Press OK to close. Next, we're going to set up the game so that the ball will break the the blocks when it touches them. Open the ball object back up, and we're going to change the collision with block event to add a new option in here, and this is going to be the destroy option that we had used earlier in the ball event. So you click and drag this over here. Within the properties of this, we're going to make a change. In the applies to section up here, we're going to click other. What this means is that when the ball touches the block, we will destroy the thing, the other object that's been involved in the collision. So the ball won't get destroyed. That's what would happen if you press self. The block, the other thing, will get destroyed. Press OK. You can run the game now if you wish to see that the blocks are destroyed. Click OK when done. The last thing I'm going to talk about is how do we check for victory, that we've won in the game. This is already set up in the game, and if you've played the game enough, you'll notice when all the blocks are destroyed, you get a congratulations screen. This is being accomplished through this object, the controller object. I'm not going to go into detail on how that works right now. This will be discussed in later tutorials within the course. The last thing we're going to do is going to add sound to the game. I'm not going to go through the process in the tutorial that discusses how to actually create the sound effects. I'll leave that to the actual tutorial. I'll talk about here how to add those sounds and those effects into the game. To add a sound, right-click on the Sound folder and click Create Sound. First sound we'll create is the SND Sound Bounce sound. You'll then go to the Load folder and find the sound effect that you want to put in here. Once you're done, click OK. And you're going to have two sounds here. We're going to have a total of 3 sounds here. We're going to have one that it hits and bounces against objects, and we're going to have one that when it hits the paddle it has a different sound, and then we're going to have one that when the blocks are hit they'll have a separate sound. So go ahead and click again Create Sound. We'll put Sound Paddle, choose the appropriate sound, click OK, and then one more, Sound Block, choose a sound, and say OK. Now you may have noticed I chose all of the same sound effects for these when I created them. You'll be choosing your own created sounds. We now need to add the sounds to the appropriate places within the objects. We're going to put these within the ball, so open the ball, and inside the appropriate collision events we're going to put the appropriate sounds. So we'll start off with Object Wall. The only sound we want here is the bounce sound. Choose the Main 1 tab, and under Sounds there's a little speaker icon. Pull that across. Choose the appropriate sound, and under Loop put False and click OK. Under Block we're going to choose a sound. we're going to do sound bounce, no looping, and I'm going to put sound block as well. Under the paddle, I'm going to choose the sound paddle, and I'll also choose the sound bounce. Press OK when done. At this point, you're going to be done with the first portion of the tutorial. The last part of working on this game is going to be adding your own features to the game. You're actually going to try to make it a little bit yours. In the tutorial, it discusses some options on how you can make this better. You can, if you'd like, use some different sprites. You can use some more sophisticated sounds. You can add some graphics to the game. Or if you'd like, you can build some sort of narrative for the game. The narrative does not actually have to be a part of the game. It can be separate from it, like a introduction document or a instruction sheet. Excuse me, this ends this video.